In this video, we're going to look at the systems model. Let's get started by first asking a simple question. What is the purpose of business? Most of us would answer to generate a profit. However, Peter Drucker would say is to create customers. The profit is a necessary condition. You've got to have the profit to help support really the two primary functions of business, marketing and innovation. This is where you get your competitive advantage and how you differentiate yourself, which helps you to create customers. So without creating customers, you can't possibly generate a profit in the long run. Where does operations fit in? Well, operations continuously creates value based on customer demand using raw materials and inputs. So let's look at a systems diagram. Well, first we're going to start by looking at the market. The market, there's certain questions that you want to ask of the market so that you understand it as comprehensively as you can. Questions like how much will they buy? What price will they pay? Will they buy from us often? If so, how often? What else might they be able to buy? What direct competition is there? What indirect competition? What are the margins like? What kind of discounting do we have to offer? What's the service level that we have to maintain? What is the market potential? And many others that you can also think of. The other thing that we look at is also the source or the raw material or inputs. We look at the suppliers. We want to understand what price will they charge? How much is it going to cost to transport and store? How often will they deliver? What discounts might we be able to get? What are the prices going to do in the future? What's the quality like? What's the service level like? What other products or services can they provide? What competitors do they have and how vertically integrated are they? These represent the outputs, the market, and the inputs, the source, that are really the source of our competitive advantage. It's the intelligence of the market that allows us to position ourselves and create the value and create the products and services that enable us to be successful in our business model. The source can also be, pardon the pun, but a source of competitive advantage depending upon how well we are able to manage our relationships with our suppliers. So what's a systems diagram look like? Well, a systems diagram looks, as you can see, like a pretty straightforward block diagram. You've got your inputs from your sources, from your suppliers. You've got your outputs to the customers in the marketplace. What happens between the inputs and the outputs is some sort of conversion. You're taking products or services or items of lesser value, your inputs, you're doing something with them based on information that you have, as well as based on your skills and ability from a management point of view to plan, organize, control, etc. And you're increasing the value of those inputs by processing them further and producing something that customers will pay more for. Now, an important loop in this whole thing is a feedback loop. You want constant feedback so that you know, are we doing a good job of fulfilling the demands of the marketplace, of satisfying the customers, of measuring up to their understandings and perceptions of value and quality. A key aspect is to consider also is the supply chain, made up of all the different parties and entities that help support the satisfying of the customer demand. So operations has a critical role in helping to organize the supply chain, manage the supply chain, and make sure that there's effective communication throughout the supply chain. So if we're to step back and come up with a reasonable working definition of operations, it might be that all things that happen that lead to a sellable product or service. This can be things like completing tax returns, building a car, cooking a hamburger, making a dress. All these kind of things are lumped under the area of operations. And really, there's three purposes for operations. One is to generate a reoccurring income. Two is to increase the value of the business assets. And three is to secure the income and the value of the business assets. Without operations, you have nothing to sell. Consider that. You, in effect, have no business. And of course, without customers, you have no need for operations. So it's almost the yin and the yang, where you've got, on the one hand, the customers of the market. On the other hand, you need the operational support. Now, some firms are just really good at selling and really good at creating the demand in the marketplace. So you'll have organizations that are sales agents. All they do is sell. And they work with suppliers that are really good at the operational piece but not so good at the sales piece. So that is also a way in which you can structure things depending on the competencies of your organization. So what's this course about? Well, this course is really about value add as a source of competitive advantage. It's about the flow or flows of information and materials. It's about quality management and continuous improvement. We also work in Lean Six Sigma kind of concepts as a framework. It's also about the market, being able to forecast demand, managing life cycles, and listening to the customer. And ultimately, we wrap up with some information about project management as well as strategy. So where does just plain old management fit in? Well, plain old management is responsible for all the planning, organizing, leading, coordinating, controlling, staffing, and motivating that goes on in the organization where you are converting the inputs to the output. So the systems diagram is just a nice, simple way to kind of highlight the relationship between inputs, the conversion process, data and information, outputs, and management. And remembering the feedback loop, of course. I mentioned earlier about generating recurring income as one of the primary functions of operations. It starts by understanding the market, what their needs are, what they want in terms of quality and value. It also gets into forecasting or predicting future revenues and profits, as well as understanding what kinds of innovations and value-add opportunities might present themselves again in the future. We also mentioned that it's about increasing the value of business assets, anything from the property to the people, resources, plant, and equipment, as well as financial assets of the firm. So one of the key concepts I want to look at first is value. There are value-added activities, which are an activity that transforms or shapes material or information to meet customer value requirement, and there are non-value-added activities, which are called waste. And these activities that take time or resources but don't add to customer value, there are 7 types of wastes. Overproduction, meaning you made product but not for a specific customer. Waiting, meaning that the product is waiting to be processed. Transporting, moving the product to several locations. Inventory, storing the product costs money. Overprocessing, when a process step does not add value. Motion, excess movement of people. And defects. These are all sources of waste on an operational point of view. The second key concept is continuous improvement. And Edward Deming and Joseph Duran and a number of other gurus back in the 50s did a great job of convincing and working with companies such as Toyota that their approach was a superior approach to what's been doing before, and over time that has certainly proven out and been embraced by a much wider community of businesses and organizations globally. So it's an ongoing effort to improve product, services, and process. You may have heard of the phrase Kaizen, which comes from Toyota and means improvement in Japan. And what Deming put together was a cycle of Kaizen, or improvement activity, which can be defined as standardizing an operation, measuring the standardized operation, including finding the cycle time and the amount of in-process inventory, gauging measurements against requirements, innovating to meet the requirements and increase productivity, standardizing the new and improved operations, and then continuing this cycle ad infinitum, which is also referred to as the plan, act, check, do, or plan, do, check, act, plan, do, check, act cycle. The last item that I mentioned earlier was securing the income and value of the company. So what this comes to is that you can never forget, key concept number 3, forget the customer. Remember, there are 2 primary purposes of business: marketing, which is attracting customers, and innovation, adding value and maintaining a competitive advantage. So if you keep these 3 concepts in mind, value add, continuous improvement, customers, as we go through this course, then you will certainly have the right framework and the right frame of mind in terms of responding to the questions and participating in a dialogue as we move forward. So thank you.